rolling, we rocking. All right, check it. We're going to hit the 3, the 2, the 1. Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the Say Somethin Show. We in the building. Got my boy Mitch here. You know, it's the homie Blanc in the Hindu. Getting ready for another week with y'all. We got some cool stuff to talk about this week as usual. We got our traditions to go over before we get into the agenda. We want to say peace, love, and happiness to all y'all out there. We hope you guys are doing well today. Without further ado, I got to ask my dog to my right how he's doing. Make sure we're all A-OK before we get into today's show. So, Mitch, how you doing, man? Tell the folks what's good with you.
Yes, sir. Doing good. Doing great. Just getting into this new work role. Doing some training right now. Safe like repair, replace.
Can we get a golf clap?
I got it for you. You know what I'm saying? So just doing that, trying to figure out a new schedule, how I'm working throughout the weeks. But it's been cool, man. How about you?
First and foremost, we got to get another golf clap from my boy. You know what I'm saying? When we get new opportunities, we make the most of them.
Yes,
so,
sir.
You know, we happy to hear that. Congratulations on that, man. I'm excited for you. If I do have an issue, you know who I'm going to call. Get my stuff fixed. But, man, I'm good. I'm getting ready for this summer classes starting next week for my master's program. So that's
education.
Man, we got big teams around the corner. I'm now fully signed up as well for my fall classes. So I got a full load coming up. Got my Scali. So 75% of my tuition out the window, man. You know, feeling great about that. In October, hopefully I get word I might be up for a little bit more money. So, you know, we needs that. So, you know, hopefully we can make that happen. And I also have an internship that I'll be interviewing for tomorrow.
There we go.
With the Emeryville Unified School District. So for y'all in Emeryville, if I end up coming down there, y'all better be ready. Y'all getting
big things.
Y'all getting a big threat, man. He coming in there. He's about to do big things. Yeah. So I'm happy, man. It's all smiles. I'm glad to be back in here. And so we'll make sure we get to what we got. I know you guys have been waiting on that. So let's jump right in. We got the NBA, which we all know NBA is in full swing. Things have been crazy.
Full
Injuries.
Sweep.
Yeah, full sweep. That's right. We got injuries left and right. We got, you know, same old from the NBA that has been this entire year. We got some controversial topics coming from one of our main men on the Warriors, one of the real homies.
Dre Day.
So we're going to talk about that and see how, you know, that's been ruffling some feathers. And we have some conversations about the future, some free agents coming up, and also some of the top duos in the league, which is another conversation Dre has brought up. So
1-2 punch.
Before we get to that, we're going to start with the Celtics sweep of the Pacers, which if you guys have watched, that was quick business. That's what they call a flight in, flight out business trip. We're here for nothing but dubs. And we'll see you guys next season. You know, Halliburton, we all know, couldn't last the whole series. You know, the knee definitely got, you know, super shot out in the series prior, and it just looked like he was never able to fully get it back in swing in this series, which is unfortunate because definitely now that it's been revealed that he had a nagging hamstring injury for pretty much the second half of the season, makes a little more sense as to why his numbers were diminishing. But, you know, it
might be an excuse.
It could be an excuse. And it's also just too bad that it seems like you primed out in the in-season tournament, which, you know, if you in the league, we all know that's
not what you play for.
That's child's play. That's child's play.
You get the big bucks for that.
Man.
But about $500,000.
Right. Real talk.
Take it easy.
Real talk. You know, hey,
got a whole career.
That's why Indiana's Indiana. You know what I mean? And best of luck to you guys next year. You guys got farther than us. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're just sitting here shoveling coal regardless. But, you know, Halliburton, when you ain't got your star, just don't look right. So there's not a whole lot to talk about. But, you know, why don't you cover what there is in this classic sweep them out the door?
Well, you know, to all the Celtics fans and all the basketball fans around the world, lost a great legend in Bill Walton. So just really want to shout him out real quick, man, because
great shout out.
I don't think anybody has a single bad thing to say about that guy.
Nah.
Great basketball player, great commentator.
Big B.
Showed nothing but love to folks. Throw it down, big man.
Yes, sir.
You know, the patented quote by him. So just shouts out to Bill Walton. You know, family, you're sending you our condolences, man. But
absolutely.
Shout out Bill Walton, the true legend, man. But yeah, the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, shout out, winning the conference finals MVP.
Yes, sir.
The Larry Bird Award.
Well
nice
deserved.
thing.
Well deserved.
It was a good deserving award winning game. I think him hitting that 3-pointer at the end of the game really solidified for him because Jason Tatum averaged like 30, 10, and 6.
Yep.
So, and I know Jaylen Brown had like 29 a game, but probably had some like lesser stats. I think he had lesser stats in the other categories. So a little bit of controversy there. You never know if Jason Tatum's like, I mean, I was the better player, but it's all good. I'll let him rock with this one. I'll win the Finals MVP. But the series, I said before it even got started, even when the Cavs were playing the Pacers, it was going to be a sweep. Neither of these teams are very good teams to begin with. No offense to their players on their teams, but then they lose arguably their best players on those teams. It's like there's no shot that they're going to be even competitive out there.
Right.
And so it's really showing that Siakam needs a true superstar as the number one to really have a team projecting to wins when it comes to playoffs, because I was forgetting he was even on the team.
Right.
Like, no offense or nothing, but just like he just seemed like another guy who was putting up maybe like 22, 6 and 4 or something like that. But it's not equaling wins. Miles Turner, clearly not a guy you can rely on. Somebody you just need as the fourth and fifth guy to be on your team, because he didn't really step up in those moments with Tyrese Halliburton down. So I just think it was very bad Celtics and very bad Pacers compared to a very stacked in the East Celtics team. It's like you got two superstars with an Al Horford, with a Derek White, he's not playing right now, but like with a Kristaps Porzingis. It's like you guys got a bunch of guys who are supposed to be or could have been number one options. Whereas even with Tyrese Halliburton, it's like I don't know if he's necessarily like a superstar. He's a very good player, but like compared to guys who can really just go to any team and make them a contender, I don't know if he's that yet. So I'd say he's a semi-star, not a superstar yet. Still doing his thing. But yeah, I saw this being a sweep from before and really not surprised. Just more surprised that the Celtics allowed the Pacers to be in a few games.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think game one, was really it, and I was saying that to a couple people after the game, where it was like people were like, "Oh, Pacers look like they might keep this close," and it was like, if they had won that game, I think then the series could. I don't know if it would have been a close series, but I felt like all the games from then on out could have been very high pressure for the Celtics.
Yeah,
because that first game, Pacers really dictated the game flow. They really made they really made the Celtics have to shoot it out with them.
Yeah.
And towards the end of the game, obviously, it looked like they were going to be able to pull it out. There was a major collapse with Tyrese, getting clamped up by Drew Holiday. I mean, absolutely. I don't know if I've seen something like that, where part of that is definitely a mistake on Tyrese, but like that is your best ball handler. And to just have this guy barely be able to make it across half twice is nuts. And to lose it off himself and to pretty much walk out of bounds on the other one was just like, in those moments, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that.
And to that point, that's where I felt like their coach, Rick Carlisle, who's a champion, and Pascal Siakam, an NBA champion, I was surprised, like you're saying, in those games where they were winning in the fourth quarter. And why weren't those two able to have the team come together at those moments and maybe just slow things down a bit as people with that kind of experience? You know, it's like, hey, I understand Tyrese is the ball handler, the number one guy out there, but hey, if he's just letting the ball go like he just buttered hands from popcorn, it's like, hey, Pascal, let me just throw you the ball real quick. You run something. Like, just handle the ball and have that composure. And so I thought they really dropped the ball in that aspect of like, hey, we got some people with championship pedigree. Why are we still fumbling around like we're down by 8 when we're up by 8?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think that that's the difference in the actual championship pedigree, was that like the Celtics across the board have dudes that have been there. And then Siakam, is one of the few representations in the starting five of somebody who's actually known about, hey, this is what it takes to really get a chip, you know? And you could tell in those moments, and even in game 3, Nembhard did it again.
Yeah.
In a very, very close game. Now Halliburton's out, but they do the same thing again where, first of all, he's dribbling into traffic anyway, even if he gets by Drew.
Right.
But after you've seen those displays, not only in this series, but the series prior of Drew defensively, I don't know what it, I think that's where coaching and I think also player smarts comes in to where, why would we even go that way? Drew can't be everywhere. So why would we be trying to force something with whoever's man he's on? It doesn't have to be that way. Indiana's definitely got enough talent to not do that. And I think, that comes down to just losing it. Like Tyrese kept saying, he kept pointing at his head.
Yeah.
You just folded mentally. And I think Nembhard did it again where he was having a heroic kind of game. He, and I don't blame him. He felt like, he was having his moment, but he wasn't thinking clearly in the most key parts. And Drew and these guys seem to be the team this year that seem unflappable. Yeah. They just don't seem to really care what the situation is. They're going to play it out.
Well, when the talent you're playing is what you're playing, it's like, what do we really have to worry about if we're playing our game, right? For
sure. But to me, it's like, I'm not a full-on believer in the Celtics or anything.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that, like, I felt like this series was a lot closer than it seemed, even being a sweep. Yeah. And, there were a lot of situations where I believe, because we're talking about with talent, Boston is so much of a better team that they should have been able to just wrap these guys up. And especially when Halliburton's down, this should be a done deal. Yeah. The show is over. And I didn't feel like they really ever necessarily got going in that series, which to me won't make me convinced that they're going to be able to handle business as a sure shot like some people would think in the finals. But also, that might be a good thing for them because truly, I don't feel like they've played their best ball in the playoffs. And if they get Kristaps back and they're able to actually do it, I'm like, you could sweep Dallas, assuming Dallas gets there, which we'll talk about in a second. But I think the reason that Jaylen Brown won that as well was I think that the game time 3 in game 1, which I think shifted the series, right? I just explained that. But then I think game 2, him coming back and giving them 40.
Yeah.
Which to me was the moment where it was like, this series might be done. Even though they're still going back to Indiana, it was like, this game felt close and you lost by 16, And Jaylen Brown, I think, made Jason Tatum feel comfortable in this series, which to me is Jason Tatum's biggest problem. Is like, you don't get comfortable fast enough. And if there's not another dog out here eating like that, you look soft. But when you have a pit bull out here who's like, I need mine, all of a sudden you're able to get these quiet 36s and 34s. But I think that he had the impact in the games where it was like going for the jugular.
Yeah.
But man, like I said, injuries this year, I hope that next year we can get a way to have these stars on the court, no matter what, but it's always a coin flip of that kind of stuff. On to the next series, which we have a game 4 playing right now. It's 49-49 at half for those folks who are watching. It seems like it's a great game. For those who aren't, well, we just updated you.
Did Minnesota win?
It's tied, 49-49.
Oh,
so we got it split down the middle. But Dallas is up 3-0 on Minnesota, which to me, I definitely had Dallas in this series. A lot of people had Minnesota, but did not see this and did not see it in this way. Why don't you go ahead and lead us off with a little take on what this series has kind of gotten itself into?
I think on Dallas's side, it's, again, to me, Kyrie has emerged in terms of scoring and being more involved in the offense.
Uncle True.
He's really stepped it up, but I feel like it's always been, if those two are going, then the whole Mavs team is going. Because if you have to try and guard both of them, you're automatically going to bring defenders from off ball, and that's just leaving everybody open.
Yep.
Right now, Rudy Gobert can't make a decision on whether he's supposed to step up on a pick and roll or if he's supposed to fall back, because if one option you leave Luka space in front to just put up an easy shot from inside the key, or if you try and scoot up on him and pressure him, you're just leaving the backside open, and he just throws an alley-oop to Gafford or Derek Lively, who have been playing great defense and been people who have been open for the alley-oop the whole time.
Yep.
Kyrie is putting on the touch, like you said. He's giving you Uncle Drew Uncle Drew play right now. He's kind of doing whatever he wants. Anthony Edwards spoke a little too soon, saying he wanted to guard him. I think he forgot how much energy it takes to run after Kyrie Irving, then have to expel that kind of energy on offense as well.
Tough.
It's just a lot after just playing that intense series against Denver.
Tough.
So I think he's kind of tired, but he's still doing his thing. It's more his running mate is not running with him. He kind of still at the starting line, and it's Karl Anthony Towns, and he still seems to be wanting to be around the 3-point line, even though he's missing the majority of his 3-pointers. And for me, it doesn't make sense. Like, even last series against Denver, Jamal Murray was guarding him, and he wasn't trying to back down a dude who's a clear, 9 inches shorter than you. And so just not knowing that as a big man, that you start from the inside and then move out, once you start getting a feel for the game, is just kind of alarming for him after this many years of playing in the league.
For sure.
It's upsetting that you're saying you're the best shooting point or big man of all time, damn near, but you've missed 15 of your 17 3-pointers in this
He went
series.
over in game 3.
He went over in game 3. So it's just, you got to get your rhythm first, because whenever you do that, there's not a guy on the Mavericks team, I think, that can guard you one-on-one on the block. Like Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively are not known for their defense, but the way that they're funneling the guys to them right now is highlighting their blocking ability. But their blocking right now is coming off somebody guarding the guy to the basket, and they just come and help defense and get the easy block because the offensive guy is not looking for him. He's focused on his own defender. So I think if they do a little more ISO with him moving, you can even do the turnaround fadeaway jumpers. You got the height to just, that's like an easy me shooting it into the into the garbage can right here in real life. You can make those. So start inside, move out, give a little help to Karl or to Anthony Edwards on offense, because Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels have been going crazy. From 3 and defense. So I know they are tired of all the weight on their shoulders when you got a guy who's making max dollars barely getting you anything out there.
He's out of there.
He needs to step it up, because I think that's the main reason why they haven't been able to come up with any wins, because they've had leads throughout the series, but they haven't been able to maintain it because Kyrie and Luka have been stepping up, whereas Karl Anthony Towns has been kind of slacking. So I think Kyrie and Luka going crazy and kind of doing whatever they want, and PJ Washington playing solid 3-and-D with their other guys, and Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford just doing their jobs, has really helped them and kept them consistent through the series.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Karl Anthony Towns is gone. I mean, I think that this has proven, this whole season really has proven that he's not even really capable of being a number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is. I think what you highlighted is that he absolutely is. I think that his, it's got to be his mentality. And it reminds me of Andrew Wiggins a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Before
former teammates. Former teammates.
Where it was people just couldn't figure out how he wasn't able to put that talent together. Where it's what are these intangibles you have for you to be so dookie?
Yeah.
How? And I think he reminds me, when I hear him talk, it reminds me of a loser.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's when I say that. Look, I hear Minnesota.
It's a little harsh,
right?
Hey.
But this whole when they came, first of all, you didn't even come out to talk to the media after you went over in game 3. So you got Gobert out there, and you got Ant out there doing interviews. You the most dookie dude ever. You the one who everybody's got to talk to about what is happening. You're nowhere to be found. That is insane to me. You got to be a man in those situations and stand up when you're balling, and how you enjoy it in the same way as when you're not doing well and people want your helmet. I mean, you've signed up for this, Karl Anthony. And then your response, too, where you just lied, was you put up 1,500 shots a day? Come on, bro. Man, let me call Steph. He might not be doing that. You know what I mean? And especially when we're talking about right now, you are in the Western Conference Finals, bro. Do you know how many hours it's going to take you to do that? And that's saying
the math ain't mathing.
Bro, where are you eating? Come on now. And then if that's really the case, maybe you're too tired for the game.
Mm-hmm. Right. Gotta save some of the makes during practice for the game, you know?
But the reason that I say that is, what kind of answer is that, bro?
Mm-hmm.
What? They're asking you what's going on. What's up? Like, are you good? Why are you not going to the paint? They're saying what you're saying. Are you just wanting to be on the outside? Are they asking you to stay there? What's the story?
Mm-hmm.
And your response is, I mean, I'm hella confident in my shooting. I'm like that. And I shoot 1,500 shots a day. So why would I not? I'm tired of these unlucky bounces.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he can't make the shots. We know you can shoot. We've seen the 3-point contest, but shooting set shots in the 3-point contest is different because the misses do end up mattering and they do get to your head when it comes to these times.
And people are guarding you.
And people are guarding you.
What?
So
what?
A huge difference.
You're not going to get what you think you're going to get 3-point contest shots every game?
Maybe in those 1,500 shots, you should have somebody like in your face or something, putting some pressure on you.
Bro, if you're the best shooter, it wouldn't matter. Like, if you're the best shooting big, wouldn't matter if a guy's on you, guy's not on you, because I just put two things together. Best shooting big.
Mm-hmm.
Who's coming to block you if you like that? So you should be splashing these things. But, man, there's a lot of talk about the Warriors going after him this offseason. Please don't.
Oh, boy. Who said that?
You know what I mean? It's a lot of talk about that. Because Minnesota's looking to get – I know they're looking to get rid of him. And people are saying that we could turn him around. But, for me, it's an attitude thing, man. Like, his skill's always been there. But, like, I would be worried about him next to Draymond.
Yeah.
Especially
if Jimmy got on his ass.
Because I'm also
Jimmy punked you out of practice.
And I'm also like, the only way it would work is if you're quiet.
You might
like,
get
if you just don't talk, Carl, if you came to the bay and just didn't talk, like, never talked, it could work.
Just hope.
But when you, just
hope.
But don't let Dre bring you on the podcast. Don't do none of them post-game interviews.
I don't need to hear no zesty
You're not
voice,
ready the whole year one. We got to clear you. You're on probation if you were to come. But after that interview, man, that was distasteful. But, like, whatever. And lastly, just on this whole subject of Wolves, Warriors, all this, there's been a lot of Dre slander and hate going on because, he's quite frankly been running his mouth a bit, and he's been on some of these broadcasts.
That's what you gotta do on TV, folks. You gotta entertain the people,
right? So he's been going at Gobert super hard, which obviously is questioning all of his defensive players of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And basically his biggest thing is saying, like, the guy can't guard anybody. And what he was saying is, like, a lot of his stats come from help defense and
mm-hmm.
come from situations where he's sliding over and coming against somebody else's man. And, yes, his analytics scream out, like, the reason apparently that he won this year is because his analytics, like, 98% of shots within 12 feet or something he contested. And there's always going to be numbers like that. And I believe Rudy Gobert is a great defender. But what I do also agree with Dre is what he's saying is there are now guys in the league that can actually guard 1 through 5.
Yeah.
If you're in a late game situation and they can't have you on the court, bro, how are you the best? You feel me? How are you the defensive player of the year when at times you're a liability?
Mm-hmm. When
there are guys in the league where there wouldn't be a roster nor a situation that would put them in that place.
Yeah.
I think that's decent. And it really got blown out of proportion because when Lucas shook him to death
mm-hmm.
and then made that shot, obviously Draymond was like, what did I tell you? Yeah, he was, and then also, I think it's sad that we're not willing to give it to somebody like Wembanyama when you look at his stats
mm-hmm.
and then my biggest thing was when you look at the whole team's plus minus when he's off the court and on the court, it's just staggering. It's like disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
They go from like minus 16 plus minus to like plus 10.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can agree on that. I don't know if you want to add anything in.
I mean, I just think like even somebody like Anthony Davis for the Lakers, the way he
had a great season too
for them.
Defensively,
it's surprising because he held it down. They don't have no other big men at all.
None.
So it's like
they're not even a good defensive team.
Yeah, and whenever he's in the game, he's holding it down.
He's a threat.
When you're a guy going at the rim and he's over there, you got to think about it because he'll go up with anybody.
He's one of the few who can like guard Giannis too.
Yeah,
where it's like, yep, I'll run with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, and even though it was tough and Jokic still did his thing,
Yeah,
it was
that's a
like
bad matchup, but yeah.
he was tough. He was doing it as best as he could.
True.
I think AD is somebody who could have been up for the award too.
Me too.
And it's surprising
It's a shame.
they gave it to Rudy because, like you said, if he has to guard somebody else besides his
We've
guy
seen it.
and then slipping over for help, he's
Curry had him dancing.
he's
Curry
over
had
there
him.
in the washing
There was
machine,
like
merry-go-round.
memes about my boy.
Dun, 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 circus. It was rough for the kids.
Man.
It is interesting that he's won 4 defensive player of the years, and like you say, he's a liability because if somebody who's a contemporary like Draymond Green,
Right.
and others have voiced that they're just like, oh yeah, Rudy Gobert is trash. Like
Right.
I don't know
Can't
why.
guard nobody.
I don't know what the hype is. Well, then how do the voters not see that? How do you just look at analytics, or how do the players not have a say in who are the best defenders? And that kind of voting is interesting to me because if other players in the league think he's ass, then how does he win the award?
It's the media, man, and like Kendrick said it, like where we'll wait till next year to confirm this, but he's apparently pulled himself out of voting now, where he's because he voted for Rudy, and he was like, man, these analytic dudes swindled me. Where like I guess you get probably an in-depth review of the candidates, and there's probably a bunch of numbers we don't get to offhand look at, and he said basically a bunch of the numbers swayed him in his vote on that day, even though he said Rudy doesn't pass the eye test for me though. But like on paper, he passed all the tests with flying numbers. But he was like, when I watch him, I don't see the top defender in the league.
You know how they do like the NFL top 100 for and it's like all players.
Yes.
It's like, do they do that for basketball?
No,
like
that'd
be
great.
Interesting and cool.
That'd be great.
They would do that for the NBA too.
The closest thing they did was the top 75. I don't think it could be a top 100 because it's so much less players.
Right. Well, yeah.
But like
top
50 would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they don't do that. I think that we should pitch that. You heard it here first from Money
NBA
Mitch, man.
Network,
Come on, that'd be fire.
NBA TV.
Get them all coming together and really voting and stuff, and have them have their own version of the awards. That'd be clean. Who wins Rookie of the Year from the player's point of view?
Yeah,
that'd be clean. So yeah, man, think about it. If you want to reach out, we can talk at the at the table. He's about to copyright it, so
NBC,
be quick,
right? NBC.
Right, you got to be quick. Also, the TNT crew, super sad that there's news that they might go down. This might be their final year in the upcoming 2025.
Charles Barkley said he'll pick them up though.
Right. I mean, he's a lot of these guys might be free agents. It's kind of sad. I'm sure we'll talk about that. As we're coming closer to the true end of the show. But with that news being fresh, just want to give a quick shout out to that and them as a show, because they really have kind of, I think, shifted the whole outlook on media for sports and have kind of opened the way for where we are today, sitting on these couches talking to you guys, just because people no longer want to see it in that old, bland, gift wrapped in the same way over and over again kind of way. They like seeing
entertaining people.
More humanity.
To have a good time.
Yeah.
And have some in-depth in like good reviews for everybody.
Absolutely.
Even if they don't watch the games at the time.
For real.
Shaq on the best day.
Right.
Do it, greatest.
Right. He's booty to me. That's barbecue chicken.
Barbecue chicken. Chuck, you don't have a ring.
Right. Right. Kenny, you ain't never been. The craziest one still to me was when Kenny was sitting there, he was like, yeah. So Akeem used to tell me, he was like, well, go get my water, Kenny? And I was like, damn! They used to have, man, they were clowning. But anyway, so that kind of leads us into a good discussion that they talked about on their last show, and that's come up from Draymond sitting here on all of these wonderful broadcasts, is who are some of the top duos in the league right now. So we'll just go and make a top 5 real fast for you guys with me and Mitch here. I'll let Mitch go first with his top 5 duos. And damn, I'll try to follow it.
I would say, just to go off the playoff start right now, you got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for the Celtics.
Money.
You got LeBron and AD for the Lakers.
Yeah.
You got Kyrie and Luka for the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
You got Dame Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo for the Bucks. You got up and comers in Shai Glizzy and Chet Holmgren. You got your Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray, and Jokic.
Yep.
And then I got a few more, but if you had any other ones,
solid.
like the last one I would say is Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid.
Yeah, that's it. I was gonna throw that one in there.
One.
Yeah.
And then just personally, Stephen Clay, but Clay's
of course,
kind of killing me right now.
Definitely. But career-wise, if we were to match, if we were to do a career list,
if you were to ask Clay, he'd just do this.
Right. And if we did a career list, they would be high up on that joint. We just talking about present day. Just to be clear, that's why he didn't throw them on there. Because if we were talking about careers here, feel me, it'd be big business.
And even though they slacked off this year, KD.
I was gonna say KD and Book were the ones that I was just gonna throw in there. I would also say Fox and Sabonis, pretty smooth out there. You know what I'm saying, as a duo. I mean, they finished 46 and 36. They
just seem like such little boys out there, though.
Like, I mean, but De'Aaron is cold.
You guys got the JV squad out there.
That's just because they're the Kings, bro, and we the Dubs, man. But let's see. My top 5 would be, I think, number 1 would be Luka and Kyrie. I think that they're just, I've always said this, if they can figure out how to play alongside each other, to me, they're two of the most unguardable players in the league who are similar in a lot of ways that are very unique amongst other stars in the league, which I find to be very interesting. I would say the other one that is actually pretty decent as well would be, this year was Donovan Mitch and Jared Allen were a pretty nice 1-2 punch there. I wish Darius.
Another one that I don't like. I feel like it's one or the other, and it's because there's 3 of them is Kawhi and Paul George, or Kawhi and James Harden, or James Harden and Paul George. It would be Kawhi and Paul George for sure.
Kawhi and Paul George. Yeah. Okay. And I had them on the list for sure as well. I would also say that you could definitely, take a peek at Paolo and Franz.
Yeah,
I think
baby boys.
That's
the baby boys.
That's a cold duo right there. And when they're healthy, I also do like Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. Quite
Julius,
I feel like I think Julius Randle's probably on the move. But I think.
And do you want to then go Bi and Zion? Well,
to me, those guys can't. If one of those guys was more healthy, I could do it. But the fact that both of those guys are coin flipped at play any night is like But that's a lot. So in terms of the actual top 5, let me just really go Stewie on it. All right, so I got Luka and I got Kyrie at 1. I got Jaylen Brown and I got Jason Tatum at 2. I've got Dame and Giannis at the 3-piece. I've got it's Karl Anthony Towns. Like, you being so garbage is insane, because that package there should be higher up. That should be an easy peasy. But I'm gonna have to
last series.
I'm gonna have to give it to Jamal and Jokic at the 4-piece. I just think that, even though I'm not I just think they fit really well together. And I think anywhere that Jamal might be lapped by his matchup, Jokic will lap his. So I feel like that's right there. And then the 5 is really, really hard. I think that the 5, it would kind of be at this point, whatever floats your boat in a lot of ways. I would say off true impact, I'm going to go with LeBron and AD.
Okay.
And I just think about it in terms of where that team would be without those two. It's boy, that's not even a team. That's G League. So that would be my 5. I know there's going to be a lot of talk about that coming up. So this year, I see some moving pieces. So, in the comments, let us know who your favorite duo is. You don't have to give us a top 5. Just give us your favorite duo.
What about Cade and Duran?
That's like saying,
stars,
oh my God. Woo, that's rough. So next we're going to, in the mood of sticking to the hoop, we're going to Euro on over to the Olympics 2024 and just get a little discussion going about, who the biggest threat might be this year to the United States. For those who don't know, we have the Olympics this summer. So we have a great roster going out there. This is borderline, I wouldn't say dream team-ish, but they sure are bringing out as many of the stars as they can. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll also look at who might be the most important players on this roster for the U.S. to walk away with the gold. So why don't you go ahead and take us on into who might be the biggest threats to the United States coming up.
All right, well, we got the Frenchies coming in strong.
Boy, they got some goons out there.
The old and patented Spaniards coming in.
Yep.
We got Slovakia now since we got that boy Luka who can basically take any 4 or 5 and just get to the semifinals or finals because he's just that raw out there.
Right.
Australia is always going to be a good bet. And then I think number 5 to wrap it up, Canada.
Yep.
Canada got some great ballers out there. They got Shai Grizzy. They got RJ Barrett. A lot of guys that have played together a lot too. So I think they would be a tough team. Jamal Murray as well.
Yep.
So they got a lot of solid players. So I think those 5 are going to be big threats. You got any other ones in mind?
I mean, I feel like, if anytime we're going to play Jokic and bump into him, like if we bump into Serbia, it's going to be
Serbs are raw, boy.
Be a problem. I would say that Canada, I would say, is higher on that list in terms of a threat. Like they remind me of their soccer team a little bit in terms of like their starting 5 is starting to look really good, but their bench is like they do not have a lot of depth.
Dante Exum.
So like,
he's Australian.
But it's like
random.
It's rough after that. But that starting 5, I mean, they're going to have a lot of scoring. They're going to be a high scoring
Shai,
team.
Jamal, RJ.
Yeah,
they're big men.
Let me just look
Kelly
at this.
Olynyk.
Well, they have Kelly Olynyk. There's a lot of players. Well, they have Wiggins as well.
Wiggy, Maple, Jordan.
Yes.
Who's been Maple, Scotty, nobody. Jesus.
They have Zach Edey.
Who
will be on the team.
Boy, he's for sure bringing the work.
All right, so their team is they are more guard heavy, obviously.
Yeah.
But they have Dwight Powell, Kelly Olynyk, Zach Edey.
Okay.
So that's actually a solid little rotation of different kind of
role
bigs.
Players. Solid.
Then they got Shea, who's best player in the league, damn near. They got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's a lockdown. Lou Dort, lockdown. Dylan Brooks, defender. RJ Barrett, more offensive. Yeah, I mean, he'll be solid. He'll be solid. And then you have Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
So like.
That's
a formidable. There. They even have a little more depth than I thought. Adding in. They got some good defenders. Wing defenders. I think that their bigs could be tested.
Something to be desired.
Could be tested, but they do have some variety. At least it's not like they're sitting out there throwing out the same kind of big that a lot of these Euro teams throw out. They got a 6'9" running kind of stretch. They got a full on stretch at 7 foot, and then they got Mr. 7 Foskey. Go get it on the Goski.
Us having Embiid helps having like a down low
for sure. Because
if it was just Bam, it's like we have no offense down low.
Woo!
And that's always the thing with these other teams is like their big men are just hella skilled and are able to work around our other guys, especially with the small lineup with our tallest guys, 6'10",
right?
Our biggest guy is 6'10".
Exactly. All right, so we have. Yeah, Spain's at the 2 slot.
Spain, they got it going on.
Man. We got
a long history of playing together well.
Yeah, and they don't have necessarily a lot of guys that jump off the page in the way they had with the Gasol brothers and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Germany would be 3. So then, like I said, Serbia.
Yeah, Germany's solid too.
Germany's
they got some boys.
Who
play overseas.
I mean, they also have the Wagner brothers. Yeah. They got some boys. You know what I mean? And they got Matas Bulazila or whatever his name is, who's year's draft. So they got some boys. Serbia is 4, so they'd be a big threat. Australia, we all know, has a couple ballers, but nothing crazy. I'm surprised Canada's at 7. Latvia is at 6.
The Latvians, man, they play together all year.
That's crazy.
The squad.
That's crazy. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of ours are very similar to the U.S. I might throw Germany into that mix in terms of a team to watch out for. Sure. Usually, they're a really good team playing ball. So I'd say it'd be Germany, Serbia. I haven't seen Spain, so I wouldn't know. Canada. What is Luke on? Slovenia?
Yeah.
Slovenia and I mean, I could throw Australia in there. I'll just throw Spain in there instead of
Greece.
Australia, just because
Greece with
like
Giannis.
Greece with Giannis is good, but he's a little easier to deal with than some of these other guys because the Greek team is really not great.
Light.
But yeah, I'll go with Spain as my fifth. So there we go.
Brazil got some ballers these days.
Brazil got like a couple cats. But
Guy Santos, Warriors, shout out.
Right. Yeah, get out there, boy. We need you. So who will be some of the most important players, or who will be the most important player? However you want to approach that question, go ahead in terms of bringing home the gold.
I mean, for the U.S. or just
the U.S. Yeah.
Man.
So like, who do you think on this roster is the? I guess you could answer it by who's going to win the most valuable player.
It's cliche,
like
but
who's going to be the Carmelo Anthony of this team? Who like wins the most valuable?
It really
player?
depends on how, because it's a lot of old heads. Like not to put them out like that, but it's just like a lot of the guys, Steph, KD, LeBron, like the guys who have been a part of the program for a long time. It's like, do they decide like, yeah, let's just go hard. Let's continue to go hard during our off season. Or do they say, hey, we got Jason Tatum, we got Anthony Edwards, like let's let them cook and do their thing, and we'll just play a role. So if that's the option, then I could see it, Anthony Edwards being somebody who comes out as MVP. But if not, I gotta rock with LeBron. Like I would rather it be Steph, but I feel like he plays a more passive role in his USA when he's on the USA roster, and LeBron just really, if he's going, he runs the whole team. He's kind of been the face of the NBA, been the face of USA basketball. So I think if he goes, then everybody else goes. And so I think he would be the person to ascend and be the guy for us.
Yeah. I personally believe that it's going to be kind of Last Dance-ish, where it's going to be, all these old heads understand this is their last shot at an Olympics. Let's make some history.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of these youth are there to kind of jetpack that and to make sure that you get to where you guys want to go. But I think that we're going to see the OGs playing heavy minutes. And I also think that's going to be heavily swayed by the fact that all these OGs were out of the playoffs early.
Yeah.
So all these dudes have been resting. None of these dudes are being challenged by going deep into May or, early June in terms of their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I think I would not be surprised if Kevin Durant becomes that guy for this team in terms of the skill set he brings to the table. He's really capable of kind of how Carmelo used to do it, where he would win the MVP every time he played with the U.S. team because they knew who they could rely on to pretty much always be a matchup threat and want to score, And so I think personally Steph is going to get a lot of burn. I think Steph could vie for it because I think Steph would win off of ooh and ah factor too, right? Like a lot of these other countries really don't get to see Steph do what he does a lot, and there aren't Stephen Curry's a lot around. There are athletic guys all over, and so I think his kind of game, if he is going, could become a spectacle and could get that going. But if I were to just go off of a guess, I would think it'd be Kevin Durant. I think LeBron James has a great shot as well, but I think that he has so many accolades that I truly believe he's going to come in and kind of be the Magic Johnson of this team and really keep everybody together, be the glue guy, and also be that guy who maybe be a roaming triple-double threat every night.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he'll be the guy that ever has the 30 or the 35.
So, question. Now, after we've seen in the playoffs Tyrese Halliburton get hurt, is he no longer on Team USA? And that means somebody that we were also thinking of, Jalen Brunson, got hurt.
Yeah,
is he not going to do it? So does that mean, do we pick up Kyrie now after seeing how he's played through these playoffs?
Different kind of player.
Different kind of player, but seeing how he's a different kind of player from when he was playing on these other teams like
as
the Celtics.
Well, for sure.
It's like, hey, he seems to have matured. So does that mean he could be more of an asset to the team now since we are down a guard?
Yeah.
Is he the best option to fill that?
I would love to see Kyrie. I personally think he is the Isaiah Thomas of this generation, and I think he's overstayed his welcome pretty much everywhere. I love what he's doing. Yeah. I love that he's, bringing back his image. I love that he's finally seemed to mature into the guy we all pretty much knew he could be, and I think the guy LeBron saw in him way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think that he's, this has been 1 year of this, and, I feel like he's done enough in the past to really sour a bunch of these relationships to where I just don't think they would ever turn his way. And I think that, looking at guys like Drew Holiday, who I believe firmly deserves it on this roster for what he brings to the table, I think the fact that he's on the roster speaks volumes to the fact that Kyrie isn't there in terms of all these names that they've chosen before it, who I wouldn't have necessarily chosen above Kyrie if we were talking.
So
who
do you pick to replace him? Like a De'Aaron Fox? Like
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point you are looking at something. You have to look at somebody who's going to actually be able to play point guard because of the fact that that's the only reason I feel like Tyrese is there is really to Chris Paul this shit.
Because that's how the guards are in basically all the other countries. They're just like
they're
true
gonna
point
do that.
guards.
Yeah, and not going to turn it over, which I think could be a problem with with De'Aaron. Who would I get? That's a great question because to bringing it up in terms of that end, I don't know if he'll be back in time.
And will the Pacers and him want him?
Right. You maybe look, at that point at are we bringing Dame? Maybe you go look at a Dame and you tell him, hey, brother, you got to pass this rock.
brother.
But, I wouldn't mind Dame. I think Dame would be a good shot. I think,
Jaylen Brown? Brown?
I mean, Jaylen Brown, I think, deserves a decent look. But I think that the problem is the two guard is notoriously underappreciated on the U.S.
Donovan?
roster.
Do we get Donovan in there?
Donovan's been on it before. I feel like he's shown he can pass enough. Maybe you do look his way, I think Dame might be the first option just because he's had so much time on Team USA. Yeah. And I'm pretty surprised that he wasn't on this roster anyway. So that would be my guy that I'm looking to replace him. If not, it would have been nice to see a guy like LaMelo, right? Like if LaMelo's healthy, where are you?
That'd be nasty if we had LaMelo.
It'd be clean to see a guy like that who's throwing it around.
He'd have 18 assists a game.
Some real work. It would have been also nice if you could there's some other names that are out there where it's it would have been cool to see that pan out. Tyrese Maxey could be a great option. I mean, I think that and Dame might be my two real. Let's take a long look at it. Yeah. But that was a good question. I'm glad you brought that up because, hey, man.
Got to replace him.
I don't know if Tyrese will be ready. So you heard that here first. We got KD, bow bow. We got LeBron, bow bow, taking home MVP honors this summer. We're going with the OGs, man. We're likely with the OGs. Let us know. You got youngins, you got OGs. Man, put who you got down in the comments. Let us know who you think right next to that MVP would be getting his name etched in that trophy. So yeah, drop that in the comments and we'll take a look, man. Nothing like adding a name into the good old hat, as we say.
Right.
Next, we're rocking and rolling right onto the MLB, which is Mitch's hot corner, as we know, man. Mitch's corner, we got the block turning. We're going to make sure we get everything fully updated for you. So I'm going to go ahead and finger roll it off onto my board.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we got some MLB talk, and for the season, we got a little bit of college baseball talk because we got the College World Series coming in next week. So super regionals are going to be coming up. But we'll start in the MLB. I'm going to go over some guys over the last couple weeks have been doing their thing. We're going to talk about who the leaders, who has the most wins right now, and who's really competing out there. So to start off, I want to just say RIP to my man Ronald Acuna. Not really, but just for the season. My man's tore his ACL trying to move off of second base. Wasn't even touched or anything. Went down. It's sad story for the Atlanta Braves, losing their best pitcher in Spencer Strider first, and now losing their best hitter and overall player in Ronald Acuna. It's going to be real tough trying to replace him. Hopefully guys like Jared Kelenic, Michael Harris will come up clutch, or they bring somebody like Eddie Rosario back to come platoon in the outfield to help them out in the outfield. But sucks for them because they've been struggling, like Matt Olson and Austin Riley have been a little bit banged up and not hitting well. So hopefully they can bounce back because they got a tough team in front of them in the Phillies. But for the hitters who've been doing good over the last 2 weeks, been on a tear, we got to start with Aaron Judge. He's been killing it on the Yankees. batting .432, 7 home runs,
Finally woke up.
16 runs, 12 RBIs. Been absolutely raking after having, like you said, a shaky beginning of the season, shaky first month. He's showing why he's a Bronx Bomber out there. Next, we got Jose Ramirez, likely suspect again, third baseman for the Guardians. Another superstar who kind of had a rough first month. Now batting .327 in the last 2 weeks. 6 home runs, 10 runs, 17 RBIs. That's crazy. 17 RBIs in 2 weeks. That's a lot of production right there. A lesser-known guy, Michael Garcia on the Royals.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of
Three-bagger.
weeks, been killing it. Yeah, third baseman, batting .380, home run, 12 runs, 10 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, killing it in all categories for you. Then another guy starting off with a rough part of the season, Corey Seager. Over the last 2 weeks, batting .350 with 7 home runs, really turning it around for the Rangers, who are struggling in this lowly AL West, man. A lot of rough times for the AL West right now. And then last but not least, your favorite shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr., batting .327, 4 home runs, 15 RBIs.
Boy, he's a beast.
Actually doing it all for the Royals.
MVP talk.
A lot of those names that you've heard before, just got to continue to shout them out if they're going to produce. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then going to our pitchers, I know I talked about him before, but he just continues to shove. Chris Sale for the Atlanta Braves, really holding it down. .43 ERA, 3 wins, 26 strikeouts, and 21 innings. It's going good for him right now. He's on a roll. He's somebody who was showing Cy Young before his injury, and he's showing it this year for a Braves team that's kind of been up and down.
What a beast.
He's holding on steady for them. Another guy for the Royals. I feel like I've been shouting out all Royals.
How are these guys good this year?
But
Ballers.
Cole Reagan's coming in, shoving this right now. A 0 ERA over those last 2 starts. 2 wins, 19 strikeouts, and 13 innings.
Big K guy.
He's got it rolling. He's somebody who, at the beginning of the season, was being talked about a lot. Has been a little shaky, but now he's coming on, showing the potential that everybody was talking about before. And then last but not least, we got our boy Luis Gil for the New York Yankees. A lot of these AL teams coming up strong, but he's come in with a .73 ERA, 2 wins, 22 strikeouts, and 12 innings over the last few games. He's killing it for them. So shout out to him. He's somebody who's really showed up and been a good prospect for their pitching rotation that's been top-notch this year so far. So those are the hitters and pitchers who have been hot for the last couple of weeks. You know about them. Some you may not know. Now you know. It's good to hear and get to know these new players and hear about your superstars in the game. And now just to go over just kind of the standings for each division right now. We got the Yankees in the AL East at the top of their game, 37-18, with the Orioles 1.5 games behind. Those are the 2 teams vying in that division. We move on to the AL Central.
Smacking record.
We got the Guardians 36-18 with the Royals 2.5 games right behind them.
Doing their thing.
AL West, the lowly AL West, the Mariners 29-26. Oh boy, with the Rangers 3.5 games behind them. So a bunch of teams 500 or under in that division. Let's step it up.
He said the
defending world champions division of the AL West, man. Let's step it up. Moving on to the NL, we got the NL East with the dominating Phillies.
Best team in baseball, right?
38-17 with the Braves behind them, 6 games behind. So
crazy.
It's going to be a hard stretch for the Braves, just trying to turn around with a great Phillies rotation and everybody in the lineup really producing. NL Central, you got the Brewers coming in, 31-22 with the Cubs 4.5 games behind them. And then in the NL West, we got the Dodgers 34-22 with who? The San Francisco Giants 5.5 games behind in second place.
Thought I told you.
Has had a great last couple weeks. I think about 8-2 over the last 10 games. Luis Matos had about 16 RBIs over the last couple of weeks.
It's the youngster.
Matt Chapman, who struggled a little bit to start the season,
finally woke
coming on strong, made a great play to end the game last week. So they're coming on strong too. Shouts out to the SF Giants, man. So that rounds it out for the MLB, and I just want to do a quick shout out for the
But not
the
Blake
College
Snell,
World
though.
Series.
But not
Blake
Snell.
Snell. We
My
kept him
God,
out.
you were right about that, but
That was a rough one for them.
God.
But again,
He does heat up though late.
Yeah, he does heat
but
up
this
late,
is
but he's struggling right now.
This is
My man has
crazy.
been doing his stream and on video games a little too much.
Bruh.
Needs to come out and show for the Giants, man, because he's a key addition that needs to produce. But just real quick, we got the College World Series. I just want to shout out a few of the best young prospects that are coming out of the college game.
Who we got?
We got Georgia, Charlie Condon, who was a walk-on to start his career, batting .443 with 35 home runs for the Georgia Bulldogs. #1 hitter in college baseball. Absolute monster out there, looking to be the top pick.
What position?
Outfield, looking to be the top pick in the draft next year. Then we got
from walk
on to #1 pick. It's how he's doing this thing. .443, 35 home runs, killing it.
God.
Texas A&M, we got Jace Lavalette, batting .321, 28 home runs, killing it as their center fielder, a mainstay for their team. He's going to be a top pick in this next draft. Tennessee, Christian Moore, he's batting .382 with 28 home runs, #1 player on their team. He's batting leadoff for them, showing them how to get it done. A senior guy who's been there for a long time.
Beast.
#1 in Tennessee history for home runs. So he's showing out for them. Oregon State, we got Travis Benzana, another top 4 pick.
Okay.
Batting .418 with 26 home runs.
Ooh.
Killing it for Oregon State.
Reagan.
And then last but not least, we got Jack Caglione for Florida Gators. Batting .415 with 29 home runs. Arguably top 3 best hitters in all of college baseball.
Ooh.
And he's also their #1 pitcher. So
wow.
That's great to
see.
Two-way guy, absolutely killing it. Lefty,
Sheesh.
hits bombs .450 and throws 95 plus on the mound. So he could be somebody who may potentially be a two-way player when he goes to the MLB. And then pitchers, we got 3 guys I want to shout out. 2 of them putting up Paul Skeens kinds of numbers.
Arkansas. We all know
Skeens
almost should have got a shout out.
Killing. Arkansas, we got Hagen Smith. He has a 1.48 ERA, 154 strikeouts in 79 innings.
Ew.
Then we got Wake Forest, Chase
inning.
Burns. Last year was on Tennessee as a reliever. This year, starter for Wake Forest. Chase Burns has a 2.46 ERA, 184 strikeouts in 95 innings. Both those guys, that's 17 and a half Ks per 9 innings. That's crazy, bro. 17 per 9. So they're going absolutely crazy. And then another top prospect, last but not least, we got Iowa Brody Breck. He has a 3.33 ERA this year, 128 strikeouts in 78 innings.
Okay.
But he's a guy who's a fireballer, can run it up to 100, 101 miles an hour. So all 3 of those guys are 95 plus mile an hour throwers, looking to be the first pitchers off the board in this coming draft. So now you got a little bit of idea of who's coming out of the college game to the MLB who's going to be exciting. So that's my round out of MLB/college. Look out for the College World Series coming up this week. Regionals going to be playing. It's going to be a fun time.
ASAP. Man, appreciate that. As you know, Mitch's Corner always turns 2 successfully. It's nothing like it.
Yes, sir.
Those are guys, whether you're an MLB talent scout or you're just a fan of the game, those are names you may want to be checking out, may want to take a longer look at. So, hey, if you're missing Mitch's Corner, man, you missing out on some good information. And MLB guys, we're going to start seeing you in these live chats.
Yes, sir.
We're going to start docking something. We're going to have to get my boy some percentages here when he's scooping these gems out of the dirt. You know what I mean?
No bad hops.
None.
Scooping everything.
None. And I just want to say, man, get well soon, Acuna.
Yeah,
I feel terrible. That dude is a great thing for the game of baseball. He's just super, super talented. And I feel terrible for the Braves to lose their best pitcher and arguably the best player in the game all in one season. And these are season-long injuries. So
they ain't coming back this year.
Yeah, it's chalked that season up. But to happen so early and to both seemingly be fluke kind of plays, man, I feel
tough
bad.
to see, man.
For real. So I just wanted to say that. But before we wrap today's show up, we definitely got a little bit of the NFL. We're going to make sure we touch on the big three. When we talk about big three, we talk about the Triton of sports. And so we won't leave that out for all of you football fans. We know it's the off season, but we still got things we can go over.
Right.
So today we wanted to discuss a little bit about the draft. You know, we both kind of went over what has happened for our teams respectively, how we felt about it, and the impact that it'll have on our teams. But we want to give you guys a little bit of an outlook of how we feel of the entirety of the draft by giving you some impactful rookies and our lists of who we think should be the most impactful for their teams this year as this upcoming season progresses. So I'm going to let Mitch jump right in. This is a super talented class, and the Raiders, as we know, have a very talented player that they scooped out of the first round. So I'll let him break his list down.
So I would say Caleb Williams is primed out to be a top performer. You got 3 amazing targets.
Couldn't do it
4 if you want to even add Cole Kmet, and 5 if you want to add DeAndre Swift coming out of the backfield. So he's the most ready with the talent to become the guy who's rookie of the year status, especially offense, man. He can really produce for them. And then another guy I'm going to say for the offensive side is I'm going to say my boy Brock Bowers. I'm saying if we can use this man correctly, like let's use our tight ends, all right? If we use him correctly, he can be somebody who could be a slot/tight end for us.
For sure.
And really open up the offense. It's just got to be, it's incumbent upon Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell getting in the ball. And
that's a real
offensive coordinator, Getsy, designing our playbook to have plays designed just for him.
Yeah, which
because
he
did get
that out of Cole Kmet.
Yeah, and so he is that kind of player. So those 2 offensive players for the rookies, I'm excited to see. And then on defense, Latu going to the Colts. I think that's a really good fit with their defense that they play, and I think he could be an impact player right away.
I like
he
that.
Kind of fell a little bit, as well as all the defensive players did this draft. But I think he's somebody who maybe was not talked about as much. He had some good hype, but compared to some other players, I think he could be a surprise for guys, especially in that defense. And then I have Quinyon Mitchell going in for the Eagles, mixing into their DB crew and their just defense as a whole in their scheme. I think he's somebody who could really lock down one side of the field for them. And they have other good guys on the other side too that will just complement his status out there.
Absolutely. Number 1 DB in the class, somehow falling to 22. The Eagles definitely thought they were going to have to make a move to go grab that guy. Turns out not the case. He runs a 4.2. Dude is a beast, and it was a position of need, so I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, we're doing 2 offensive and 2 defensive, which is why he laid that out perfectly like that. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure I don't do repeat names. That's not discrediting. So do not think that we're just, putting different on the list because we want to. We're doing this because we wouldn't want to just say repeat things over and over again to y'all.
There's more than 2 players on offense and defense in this draft class that could really come up and be strong.
Absolutely. Deep draft class. But I don't want you to think that I'm overlooking who he said because none of those players end up on my list. I'm going to go with, obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. as my number 1 offensive potential breakout star from this rookie class. I just think he's walking into an offense that is tailor-made for a number 1. We've seen, obviously, Kyler prove that when he has a suitable number 1, he can get that guy stats, and he loves to feed his number 1 a ball.
And they're going to be behind in a lot of games.
A lot.
So they're going to need to throw that back.
A lot. Also, they have a pretty nice tight end, McBride, who I think will complement each other pretty well in the aerial game. And they also drafted Trey Benson as a running back, who I think is going to eventually be their starter, and it's going to be a nice
Florida State, right?
Yeah.
Second round, right? Yeah, that's a good pick.
It's going to be a nice little set offense there. And then I think my next pick is going to be Malik Neighbors, and I think that. My thing with Malik Neighbors is, he's first of all, I'm a huge fan of Malik. So everybody knows that when you see me say that, people are going to go, oh my God. But I think that he brings an element to this offense that we haven't seen since the likes of Odell. I think their quarterback situation is a problem. I think it's going to be an issue. But Malik Neighbors, he's also going to be in the special teams. He's going to be kick returning, punt returning. So I do think that he's going to be super, super impactful. And I think just in terms of if you look at somebody who's going to be compiling stats, this is a guy who's walking into an offense that has lost every bit of juice that exists.
There's nothing there anymore.
I mean, if you're not looking Neighbors' way, I don't know where you're looking.
I mean, it was only Saquon, and now Saquon's gone.
Even Saquon's gone, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think Neighbors has a real shot to step in and by volume be one of these guys that puts up some real numbers this year. My little honorable mention pick was going to be Joe Alt, who I think is going to be super, super good. And it's hard.
That's just boring.
Exactly. And it's hard to pick offensive tackles if you're not really watching the sport. That's a guy that's going to be hard to pick out on the field and know exactly what he's doing well. But I believe he's going to be a Joe Thomas type of talent, a guy that's going to come in 10-plus years and really lock down that tackle position for the Chargers. And he's going to be the kind of guy that plays the ball that Harbaugh likes.
Yeah, for sure. He seems like he's going to be a 10-year Pro Bowl kind of guy.
Absolutely.
And then even Xavier Worthy, too, just to shout him out, being on
going to the Kansas City for sure.
Chiefs, it's like he might have a chance to
really
valid. Run it up.
Very valid.
Getting him at the end of the first round is solid.
Very valid. My defensive players, my number one defensive player is going to be Dallas Turner.
Yeah, he was another one.
I think coming
he's a good fit for that.
For sure. And they lost Danielle Hunter this offseason, so they really needed a guy that's going to be out there on that edge, hunting that quarterback down. I know Mitch is a fan of this dude coming out of Bama. He's a baller.
Yeah,
he's an absolute baller, and he fits the off the bus test where he physically looks like he's a football player. If you get what I'm saying.
Who did the Texans get? He's just missing the rookie that they on defense from Bama. What's his name?
Yeah, let me pull this up.
He just reminds me of him too. And
you talking about last year?
Yeah, Will Anderson.
I'm sorry.
So I don't think he's as good as Will, but they give me the same kind of vibe as guys who are dogs who are like, I'm gonna go into the NFL and I'm gonna get better.
Right. Fact.
And the Vikings, I feel, do a pretty good job with their edges and linebackers.
Yeah.
And getting them better, having them produce.
100%. And then my second pick would be Terrion Arnold for Detroit. I think
great defensive fit.
A great defensive fit. And this is a defense that plays hard, real gritty, and they're already pretty much there. So it's not like he's coming into an empty cupboard. I think he's going to be able to come in and vie for that number one spot.
Yeah.
And my actual honorable mention would be in the second round for the same team, actually, once this loads up. I just don't want to butcher his name at all. But it is Ennis Rack.
Oh yeah,
also a DB,
another DB, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Who also went to Detroit. Sorry, Rackstraw. Sorry,
Missouri,
Ennis.
right?
Yeah, out of Missouri. He's a little more raw and went to a little less of a highly touted program.
Right.
But this is a guy who physically might even be a better mold to play the one in terms of a DB than even Terrion Arnold. But I think these two could be real.
Isn't he a big dude? He's like 6'3" or 6'4"?
He's like a 6'2", 3/4 guy, and he's like 220, I think. So he's almost safety body.
Yeah.
But he's fast enough to stay on the outside. He reminds me a lot of kind of like that Brandon Browner kind of mold.
Yeah.
That bigger DB. Even a little bit, he's got even a little bit of that Sauce Gardner build to him, where he looks kind of like a wide receiver.
It's very similar to Quinyon Mitchell, and then the Eagles getting Cooper DeJean too.
100%.
It's like those are
100%.
two good DBs that are really going to probably be starters from the get go and be important plug-in guys.
Absolutely. So that's going to wrap up today's show. Obviously, we've touched everywhere. On the next show, I'm going to go into a little bit of the soccer preview. Yeah. It's just a little lengthy, and I'm going to actually show you this list because I want to forward you this. We got a real nice breakdown of pretty much the 150 player pool that's going to be up for this World Cup. So we kind of want to give you that super, super long-term look. I know we're still 2 years out, but these years fly by. And before you know it, the World Cup will be here in the United States. So I want to give you guys a great opportunity to know what you're looking at when we have all these qualifiers and other things that are going on as we lead up to it and these friendlies.
And we can recap the Champions League.
100%. We'll also have the final all done, which will be Real Madrid versus Dortmund. And again, I've told you guys, I believe Real Madrid will take this. But yeah, we'll have a full soccer breakdown for you guys next time and more on the MLB. So
Peace.